Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I am here with Allison, and this is, well, I just decided to make it a maintaining frame. I don't know if that's appropriate, but we're just going to call it maintaining frame number 57. We're going to be looking at the origins of Father's Day because today is Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to, well, it is in the States and in Canada, I think. I know that in different parts of the world, Father's Day might take place at different points. But here in the States, it is today, June 18th.
In Canada.
And in Canada. So happy Father's Day. So we're going to be looking at the origins of Father's Day according to, well, actually, one of the people from our sort of neck of the woods, a man. I believe he is from India, and he has a website called News of X, which is basically like men's oriented news, all matters concerning men. And if you want to check that website out, it's newsofx.com. Go ahead. There's lots of articles there. And they did this one interesting piece on the origins of Father's Day. And you might, if you don't know this, you might be surprised to learn some of this news. I thought it was kind of interesting, and it could be a good thing for us to get into. So, firstly, I just want to say happy Father's Day. I spoke to my father on Friday because he's in a nursing home because he has a number of ailments, and I spoke to him on Friday, and he and I reminisced on things from my childhood that I didn't remember that he remembered. So it was kind of like surreal because I don't get to talk to my father very often. And it got pretty emotional. I'll just say that. So hopefully some of you guys are in touch with your dad and he's still with us. And if so, I hope that you at least take a little bit of time to reach out, and if you have anything to thank him for, do so. And if you're angry with him, maybe just forgive him. I don't know. I don't know your situation, but I would just suggest that you try to use this time to build something positive, I guess. And if you are a father, then good for you as well. And I hope that you are involved with your kids, because this is like kind of a big thing, fathers being involved.
Fathers
with their
being
children.
involved with their kids. That's
with
a
their kids.
big thing.
It is a big thing.
And if society, not to bring the tenor down a bit, but if society actually cared, I mean, honestly, our society expects men, and they do care more about the relationship with their children than society does.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, we won't take responsibility for the fact that we routinely remove fit fathers from their children's lives just to convenience the mother for no other reason. Yeah. And we don't want to take responsibility for it. And we continue to blame some men, a very small minority of men, for treating their relationship with their children as expendable as society does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's a very small. I'm not talking about the guys who are unable to see their children because of paternity blocking access, or ones who don't even know they have children. I'm talking about the guys who actually, have chosen not to be part of their kid's life as much as possible. But on the other hand, realize that those men also didn't really have a choice to be a father in the first place, unlike women having a choice to be a mother. And that's legally the case. Like, you look at the law around maternity and paternity, men do not have the legal right to separate consent to sex, or not even consent to sex, non-consent to sex. So, in other words, if a man doesn't consent to sex, he still consents to being a parent of the child that's conceived through that sex. And that means, yes, male rape victims are expected to take responsibility. So just consider that when we look at the tiny minority of men who don't want to be fathers and have been forced to against their will. Yeah. And consider that many of them still step up. There's one particular story that was really harrowing that I've heard. It was on one of those Reddit threads that they do periodically. Have you experienced rape as a man?
Oh, okay.
And one of these men described having been he was taken advantage of when he was unconscious. drunk at a party, I believe.
Yeah.
And the uh, the woman later conceived, and even though he did not like her she had raped him, and he perceived it as a rape, so it wasn't a situation where he was just okay with it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He had to maintain a relationship with her for something like, I think, 6 years. A cordial relationship with his rapist for 6 years before she completely fucked up, and she did, because, well, she's a rapist, and he got custody of the child.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that? And he
Um,
probably still has to make nice with her, because it's unlikely that she completely lost all contact.
yeah.
But it's like unbelievable. I mean, I don't think I've heard a story as ugly as that from women. Oh yeah, I had to kiss up to my rapist for 6 years just to maintain contact with my child. It doesn't happen. Not
Yeah.
to women, but it happens to men. It
That's
probably
true.
happens with more frequency than we can imagine. And yet, this guy still stepped up. He still stepped up for the sake of his kid. And
Mm-hmm.
he never gave up getting that kid out of the environment that, I believe it was a daughter that she was in. Never gave up on trying to protect her, trying to make sure that she got away from the rapist who forced the conception. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty heroic in a lot of ways. So there you go. There's a little spiel. Maybe it's a little bit dark. Perhaps you just remember all the positive things that fathers do for kids, mentorship, and all that other
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Um, I haven't called my dad yet, but I will after this show.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah, it's only like
Yeah.
6 o'clock over there, so um
Yeah.
so
All
then
right.
that's
So,
good. There's plenty of time. So let's get into the
or
story.
should I give the
Oh yeah, yeah,
spiel?
yeah. You want to do your spiel first? That's
Okay.
fine.
All right. Well, I have okay, two things. The first thing is, if you want to send us a message during the show, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Sort of allows you to avoid YouTube's gauntlet, commentary gauntlet, and also we get the full benefit of whatever you send us. So that's really appreciated if you do that, especially if you're sending something big through, because YouTube takes 50% of that. Excuse me, if you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know. And that's quite a bit. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you want to send us something. And also, a little bit of a strange ask, this early in the month, I am doing a fundraiser to get my story edited, The Captive Eye. If you haven't if you've been under a rock in this channel, I'm writing a fantasy, a gas lamp fantasy epic. It's been described as Alice in Wonderland meets Game of Thrones. Don't take that literally, though. There are no Cheshire cats, although there are mushrooms. Um, and if you're interested in helping me out with that, it's at feedthebadger.com/I. That's feedthebadger.com/I. And it does actually have themes of fatherhood and also the importance of male mentorship, which I think,
Mm-hmm.
can we talk about that during Father's Day? Like male mentorship?
Of course, yeah. I mean, like, because we live in modern times, there are a lot of children and young people that don't have a father, but they like seek out, they have a substitute, I guess, for lack of a better word, in a mentor or an instructor or a priest or whatever it is, right? So yeah, I think that it's fine to
Yeah,
make that to
sort of
an uncle,
cute
like
story.
a relative. So
Yeah, to just extend it, not to women though.
yeah,
I'm not gonna be like,
well,
not
I
single mothers who've,
primarily fathers, like biological fathers, and then after that, anyone who's sort of like filling that role well.
as a
Stepfathers can
man.
be good, yeah, as a man. Older brothers, uncles, grandfathers, things like that. No,
Mm-hmm.
teachers, priests, whatever. Boy Scout
Mm-hmm.
leader, I don't know, your
Sister.
coach, like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's plenty of other versions.
I
So,
remember this is a little cute story, that we have a small pool in my small town, and years ago we would go there I don't know what the hell we did because I don't swim that much.
Mm.
But and there was the male lifeguard or male coach. He wasn't very old. He was like in his mid late teens maybe. And I remember that even though there were other women there who were or girls who were life coaching or not life coaching but coaching or sorry, lifeguarding or
Oh,
swim
yeah.
coaching,
Like,
all
okay.
the kids all the kids would just swarm him like Ewoks swarming a walker. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that you could just really tell the value of that kind of energy to them,
Yeah,
of
for
being able to
sure.
play with a man or a young
Mm-hmm.
man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of energy, that kind of nurturing masculine energy, sorely needed in the world. Um,
Definitely.
yeah. Okay, so do you
Yeah.
want to talk about this?
Yeah, let's take a look. This is interesting history. I didn't know. So, all right, I have some images on the screen because the website News of X, because it's like a small independent run site, it's like chock full of ads, like almost as many as the Daily Mail, and I just don't want to subject anyone to all that. So I'm just going to show the images and
All right.
read through
Good idea.
this article. Yeah, I thought that might be a little bit better. So Father's Day was created because of a mining accident. I don't know if any of you guys knew that. I did not know that. So we'll get into the details of the mining accident and how it spurred on or started in the West, or like in the Americas, I guess, or in America. The Father's Day. So Father's Day is coming up. Well, that's today, so it's here. Um, Believe it or not, a tragedy in West Virginia is at the heart of its celebration in America. So weird because I'm in Virginia, which is right next to West Virginia, obviously. And I drive through West Virginia whenever I go to Chicago, which is like twice so far since moving here. Father's Day has been celebrated since the 1500s in Europe, so it is an older day. But it wasn't until the early 20th century that America began to follow suit. And when I say America, I'm not talking about the United States. I'm saying the United States and Canada, and probably Mexico as well, although I don't know for sure. And the first Father's Day celebration in this country occurred right here in West Virginia at what is today named the Central United Methodist Church in Fairmont in honor of the fathers who died in the Monaga mining disaster. And I have a picture. Obviously, this is from like the early, what is this, like 1907. So this is from a newspaper clipping. Allison, if you want to look at it, you can jump into my
I am
share.
looking.
Okay, you're looking.
I'm
Okay,
already
all right.
I'm already in your DMs.
Yeah. On the morning of December 6th, 1907, tragedy struck the mining town of Monongah. I think that's how you say it, or Monongah. An explosion occurred deep inside Fairmont Coal Company's number 6 and number 8 mines. It killed almost everyone inside at the time, and the small handful who were rescued later all died of their injuries. Over 360 people perished, 250 of them were fathers. Of course, they were all men, but a significant majority were fathers. It's considered one of the worst mining disasters in American history. 1,000 children lost their dads that day. Grace Golden Clayton, who was mourning the recent loss of her own father, sympathized with the weight of their sorrow. The following summer, she convinced her pastor to honor the fathers in a special service on July 5th, 1908. And I have a picture here of what appears to be a monument that was built to in the name or for Grace Golden Clayton, who basically asked the pastor to pray or do a honorific for the fathers that died in that disaster. Williams Memorial Methodist Episcopal Church, South in Fairmont, West Virginia, hosted the event. For a variety of reasons. Oh, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to point something out. Like the Industrial Revolution, and even sort of before that, the when we started to get into the high Middle Ages and all of those big architectural projects, I just want to point something out. This is one of the few times that if you weren't part of the aristocratic class or basically the warring class, that you see these huge amounts of men dying.
Mm-hmm.
Because peasants were generally exempt from any kind of war. They were generally um they weren't involved in war. A lot of people think that peasants were conscripted and stuff. I mean, to a degree, they had like corvée labor, like they had to do volunteer work. But for the most part, war, at least during the Middle Ages, was pretty much only done by aristocrats and also perhaps yeomen, which came from like the trades and small property owners.
Uh-huh.
So peasants were usually excluded from all of that. So that means that when we get into the high Middle Ages architectural stuff, which did involve a lot of death because it was very dangerous, and also the industrial age is when we start seeing this huge amount of men dying in order to construct the infrastructure that we enjoy. And I just wanted to point that out, that
Mm-hmm.
this isn't a usual thing. Men
Mm-hmm.
died for what we enjoy, what we
Mm-hmm.
take for granted. They died to heat our homes. They died to build the railway. They died to build the electricity grid. They died for all of this. Um, and we just take it for granted,
Yep.
you know? And I just find this really striking. Um, I also find it sort of striking that she gets the monument. No offense.
Yeah, I mean, I
Well,
think,
I appreciate it, but
yeah.
it just seems a little. You couldn't have at least had some minors in there.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I think that it's
Yeah.
mostly because she is the one that made the suggestion, so I guess in the way
Hmm.
that she could be helpful. Um, but yeah, I get what you're saying though, because she was
No, I
basically
mean it's
she's trying to honor her father, but
yeah.
it, you
Oh,
know,
no, no, actually, to be honest, I'm fine with it because maybe it's good to see a woman honored for honoring men. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
that seems like a
exactly.
really reasonable reason to honor a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and making sure that that dead men are not forgotten and not ignored and minimized. So I mean, props to her, and certainly she deserves a monument. It would be nice. All I'm saying is, be nice if maybe there's a plaque below that or something, like just
There
something
is a
recognizing.
plaque, but I can't read it, so it's. Let me see. Yeah, it's illegible. At least in
Okay,
the
or
in
just something.
this,
And maybe there is a monument to the miners as well. So
there
maybe
might
this is
be.
separate.
Maybe next time I drive through West Virginia, if it's not out of the way, I could try to find this spot. Looks like it's in front of an
Yeah,
abandoned building, so maybe this this area is kind of on the decline. But okay, so.
yeah.
Hmm?
There's a general minimization too. Like men give their lives to for the material comfort of women and children.
Uh huh.
And there's this general minimization of that isn't a form of caretaking or parenting. Like for some reason, there's so much when I see women tweeting out or these published journalists tweeting stuff out, there seems to be this perception that if someone takes the effort provide materially for their family, that it's some way of oppressing their family rather than a form of nurturing in and of itself. Have you
Mm-hmm.
noticed that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I really like, for example, a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago, there was some stupid relationship advice, and it had the strong suggestion that the partner who provides materially for the relationship is somehow the abuser. Abuser because they do it,
Yeah.
or alternatively that they're the only one who can be an abuser, and that so you abuse people financially by providing for them financially. And I actually tweeted them. I said, is it possible that people can be abused financially by people who they are providing for, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but anyway, it's just
Yeah.
people need to realize that giving your life to provide and protect for women and children is itself a form of nurturance.
Right.
It seems like it's I don't know, many orders removed from actual taking care of people, but kids aren't going to grow up if they don't have a safe place to grow up in,
Right.
and men
Exactly.
provide that almost exclusively. A
Mm-hmm.
safe, warm environment where we don't have to live in our own waste and we can drink good water, eat food that doesn't poison us, and enjoy uh, an infinite variety of stuff at our fingertips and lighting well beyond our circadian rhythms were designed to accommodate. But that's another story. Anyway, I just
Yeah.
wanted to point that out.
Yeah. No, appreciate that.
Yeah.
I did get a super chow. This was earlier today in the morning. It doesn't have a message. It just says $11. So thank you, Anonymous, for the $11. And yeah, there are some other ones, but I think they're from Thursday's show, and I'm guessing odds are that Hannah did read them, and she just didn't put done at the end. So I don't know if those
Yeah.
are, yeah, that's probably what that is. So I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
gonna
I
put
asked her and
done.
she said that she had read all of the ones associated with her show. And
All
I
right.
briefly was like, well, which ones are associated? But then I realized that Discord has brought back the actual dating system.
Yeah, I see that. There's like dates. So I just guessed
Yeah.
that was from Thursday. But anyway, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, so we got a little bit of the backstory. Let me show you guys also. This is a photo of the coal mine entrance in Fairmont, West Virginia. You see all the men sitting there on the, well, I guess it's sort of like the mine cart train or whatever they would call it, and you can kind of see the men there, and I thought that was kind of a neat picture as well. So, for a variety of reasons, the service did not grow beyond the local Fairmont community. This is the service that was done by this pastor at the request of the daughter of one of the men who died to honor the fathers that all were killed in this explosion. It wasn't until
Of course it didn't grow past the
yeah,
community because it's just remembering men.
yeah, and also, I mean, maybe news didn't get out very quickly back in those days, but I'm guessing that people thought it was tragic and everything, but they didn't think anything else of it. So it wasn't until Sonora Smart Dodd of Washington State, inspired by her Mother's Day founder and West Virginian Anna Jarvis, threw herself behind the idea of Father's Day, that the holiday really began gaining traction in America. And here's another interesting thing: it's another woman that is getting behind the idea of let's make Father's Day a thing. So it's almost like if women back men up, you can get a lot of shit done. So, and there is a sign here, Monoga Disaster. This is a plaque or a sign, and it says, on the 6th of December 1907, 361 coal miners, many of them from countries far across the sea, perished under these hills in the worst mining disaster of our nation. The 4 who escaped died of injuries. So no one survived, really. In 1966, President Lyndon Johnson finally issued the official proclamation that designated the third Sunday in June as a nationally recognized holiday honoring fathers. Well, I wouldn't call it a holiday because nobody gets it off, but like a day honoring fathers. This day was made permanent in 1972 by President Richard Nixon. But it all started in rural West Virginia as a way for grieving children to remember and honor the dads they lost in the Monongah mine disaster. We don't usually think of Father's Day as being especially for the fatherless, but that was a major part of the original intent. So whether you will be celebrating the day with your father or without him this year, this day is for you. As we mentioned early in the article, Mother's Day also originated in West Virginia, and you can read its story here. I did open up the link to that. Mother's Day it sort of came out before Father's Day, unsurprisingly. But I wanted to share the story. So, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was like this terrible tragedy that killed all these people, men, And then the daughter of one of them said, we should do something special for these men that essentially sacrifice themselves. Because, it's like people know that if you're mining, there's risk involved. Not just of like, explosion, but just like being exposed to, the coal and all of the smoke and the air and everything else. And she got that done. And then again, another woman on the other side of the country, she was in Washington State, which is like the northwest corner, basically said we should make this a regular thing. And then it went into through the system, and sure enough, you had like one Lyndon B. Johnson and then one Richard Nixon make it official. And so that's kind of an interesting story. Anyway, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Allison, but
Yeah, well, I know that we've covered the story of, I believe, Sonora Smart Dodd of Washington State before.
the Mother's Day story.
No, that wasn't Mother's Day.
She was the one that wanted to make Father's Day official, right?
Yes, yeah, and she did so because I believe her father raised 6 kids
Mm-hmm.
by himself.
Ah,
Yep.
well, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll send you we'll probably cover that one too, since it is Father's Day.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Right there. Yeah, and this might have less of those persnickety ads.
Yeah, I'll try to open it and see.
I thought we covered her before, but maybe we haven't. Maybe we just maybe I just tweeted about her, so that's why it's in my memory banks.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, she had a father who raised 6 kids, I believe it was 6, from when his wife actually died in childbirth. Incidentally, I imagine that happened quite a bit in the past. So maybe that's why they were a lot more concerned about marriages staying together.
Well, yeah.
Because you never know when you need the spare.
It sounded like more than 99. No, I'm sorry. More than, let me see. There were 360 people who perished. 250 of them were fathers. So that's what, like more than 2/3? About 2/3? Yeah. So, yeah, like there were a lot, and they were, fathers with children. They weren't like necessarily separated from their children, from what I could tell, because I don't think that no fault divorce and all that was a thing back then. So,
well, like
yeah.
I said, probably wasn't, for the simple reason, like a lot feminists will talk about oppression of women, but consider how often people were actually dying, even women in childbirth, which incidentally you can't blame on patriarchy either. So the having to involve parents would be critically important to make sure you don't have children on the street. And they had almost no safety net then either. So people had to stay together to keep each other safe. They had to maintain their bonds, their human bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, terrible. You know what's really interesting? Jonathan went into like Walmart to find a Father's Day card. And he eventually found a Father's Day card with like a Sasquatch on it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I don't think he was specifically looking for it, but it was fun,
Yeah.
And I was like looking at the cards. I'm like, it's interesting. We have this month now for Pride, but you never see any cards for Pride. You know what I mean? You never see Happy Pride, and you know why? It's because it's not a month for human connection. I mean, they talk about it, but it's not like that. The whole supposed community is not really about connection at all. It's about identity politics and who you have sex with, or what gender you supposedly identify, despite the fact that gender doesn't matter. And you don't know what a woman.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of like, it's gotten to the point now where, there's blatant like displays of people's fetishes and BDSM and things like that. So it's not, and I'm not. I mean, that's just the truth. Like, you can look at parades, and that's what they are now. But I'm glad that you brought this up, because I I was thinking about this. Okay, so this is June, and one of the things that I realized about June is that while most people know it as Pride Month, I know it as, or at least I've realized that not only is it the month that Father's Day occurs, but it's also Memorial Day, which is, essentially like reflecting on all of the men who gave their lives in war, and it is like 99.9% men, right? And it's D-Day, which is, that's May Day, or not May Day, it's D-Day. It's like the day that we, landed on the shores of Normandy in World War II. Also,
Mm-hmm.
all men. And it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, too. So you have like four things at least that are male related, and they're all overshadowed by Pride Month. All of them. And I mean, like I was lucky, like not that it matters because we all know what big tech is like, but on Facebook, every Father's Day and every Mother's Day, I look to see, because they have these like custom made little backgrounds. If you have like a short enough message, it'll like add this sort of colorful background to your post so that it catches people's eyes. And on Mother's Day or other days like Christmas, well, not even Christmas anymore, but like other holidays like Halloween, you'll see like there's bats and jack-o'-lanterns and spooky stuff. And Mother's Day they'll have like, women with babies or something like that. But for Father's Day, they don't have anything. They don't even have like the corny things that you might expect, like ties and socks. The kind of stuff that we joke about. None of that imagery, and it's like they just pretend like it just doesn't exist. And I think I don't think that's an accident. I really don't. I don't think. I know that like I made a post and I asked. I said, so not to be, I'm not like upset about this. This isn't like keeping me up at night, but isn't it weird that Pride Month is in the same month that Memorial Day, D-Day, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and Father's Day is all in the same month, and it all gets overshadowed by this? Isn't that strange? And this woman from Australia was in my friends list. She responded and basically said, well, it's Father's Day in your country, but over here. She basically wanted to fight with me about it. And I was like, look, I'm just saying, like, we don't recognize men at any point in the year. And I'm just saying, why can't we do it on the days that we literally made for it just then? You can have your Pride Month, but maybe we should just, like, also, like, give this some priority? Because I don't think it's an accident. I think the purpose is to take men out of our minds. Like, nobody talks about D-Day. Nobody talks about Memorial Day. It's just a day to barbecue and watch whatever the big summer blockbuster is, because it usually comes out that weekend. But that's got nothing to do with Memorial Day. So I just think I think it's interesting. I don't think it's an accident. That's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, well, you can't if you it is interesting. It's also oh, well, you're right, it probably isn't an accident.
No,
I
no.
wonder if there's some invested interest in just not recognizing the sheer amount of sacrifice men have made for our society. I guess so.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
some people say that it's in June because of Stonewall, the Pride thing, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but that was like how long ago? I mean, I don't know. Can we?
oh yeah, I know. And you know what's interesting is Stonewall. And I
Yeah.
was mentioning, I think I talked about you with this, pointed this out. Okay, so Stonewall kicked off all of the LGBTQ plus whatever things, right?
Mm-hmm.
T plus. And Stonewall itself was kicked into gear by all the drag queens,
Gay men,
transvestites. No, not just gay men, but femme, like drag queens, transvestites, trans women.
cross
We used to call them
dressers,
transsexuals,
or oh,
cross
okay,
dressers.
okay.
Yeah, they were the ones who really were fighting back because they were more singled out because they were more visible.
Yeah, that came
Um,
up. That came up when we were going through that Julie Bindle, Douglas Murray
yeah,
thing.
and now notice how Julie Bindle, who's enjoyed the fruits of a generation of post Stonewall,
Yeah.
And here we are, and she, as a political lesbian, gets to start to condemn trans women. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, no,
Like,
I hear
these
you.
were the people who kicked it off. And now we've come full circle, and they're being kicked out by the political lesbians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the masculine gays are sort of helping them because I hate to say it, but the testosterone seems to come with almost like an instinctive simping.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Like, it's
um,
really, and I say that not as an is, not an ought. Like, if I could hit a button and remove the simping from all men, I would. It'd probably be terrifying, but
yeah.
you know,
Well,
the
yeah, I think that's something that
the much,
we can work on. The removing the simping.
but the thing is that I think it's instinctive in a lot of ways, and that doesn't mean that it's not supposed to be reciprocal. But I'm sorry, if a guy is throwing himself in front of a bullet for his wife or girlfriend, that isn't cultural behavior.
Yeah.
That's something instinctual, and I think that it just with the testosterone, so even gay men do it. And I say that not because I think, oh yeah, that's the way it should be. I say that so we can pull that little wretched goblin out into the light and say, how do we contain you so you don't become over insane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I've gotten into arguments with people who are like, but gynocentrism is not natural. I actually haven't. I mean, there's this huge argument on Twitter over that between
Really?
Hannah and Karen. Yeah, and I'm like, I think it is, but it's not a situation where, we should. I mean, I think our level of gynocentrism, like, it's ridiculous, but that seems to be what
Mm-hmm.
happens when we monopolize a single resource. We just create these gigantic government-run harems like we did in the Bronze Age,
Mm-hmm.
that appropriate all the resources. But but my point is that this is extreme, but the instinct is still there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
no, I
it's
think
in
the
ways
instinct
not
is
not.
the instinct to do it is totally there. It's like, but like, it's not like the simping is like at the level that it happens these days. It's not that's not purely instinctual. It's conditioned too, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a combination, but it's like
Yeah.
if you go on Twitter, you'll see that there's the nature versus nurture debate over gynocentrism.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it is sort of an important thing because if we do ignore any kind of instinctive tendencies towards it, then we're just going to be beholden to it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
but regardless, let's continue.
Well, I think
If you want,
that was the end of the article about the history of Father's Day. Did you guys know any of this stuff? Let us know in the comments. Do you want me to look at this a little bit of this other article you sent me, the PBS one about Sonora Smart Todd?
sure, let's just it's probably not a very long article, so we could
All right,
probably go through it in a few
this is
minutes.
from PBS.org, which I would normally be super suspicious of, but let's see how this goes. So, you could call her the mother of Father's Day. So, are they trying to give her all the credit for Father's Day, not the guys
Well,
that all died? Or, I mean, I don't know. I
well,
guess you could.
this is a different scenario.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how it's women that who are like, yeah, we need to commemorate men, though.
I know. That's something that you probably wouldn't really get today. I think that's one of the things that I thought was really interesting about the original story, too. I was like, oh, it's a woman. Because,
Well, let me put it this way.
uh huh.
I think that you'll get women who want to commemorate men. I mean, obviously, last time I checked, I am quasi-female. But the idea that they could actually convince other people to do it might be more of a past thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Okay.
I'd like to believe that we could still get there, but yes, I think that
Mm,
today women are incentivized to see men as competition, um, and they just want to, they just want a solo life. So, and they realize that in
and
order for
yet they
them,
really not aren't soloing life at all.
no, they're still using men. They're just not, they're not honorific.
They're
They're
not,
not honoring them while they do it, and they're not interacting with them. So,
yeah. And that's really funny because, and I've said this before on Twitter, it seems like modern day women want to absolutely destroy the relationship between men and women, but at the same time still be regarded as women so that
Mm-hmm.
they can, because there's the instinct for men to protect and provide for women provides a legitimacy to women getting that protection and provision. But once you break down the relationship between the sexes, what do women and men become? Women become a group of people that are unfairly appropriating resources from men, without giving them a say in the appropriation of those resources. I'm
Mm-hmm.
afraid that's the same setup as the French Revolution. Sorry, ladies. And if you want to destroy men's consideration for women, which you're doing, um, then you're gonna, if you literally want men to view women as men or whatever, as not women, and not have any desire to want to protect and provide for women. You see what I'm saying? So you
Uh-huh.
want to get rid of that acknowledgement that men want to protect and provide for women, and that's what they do. You want to get rid of that relationship. Well, what do you end up with? You end up with men who are not regarding the women that they are protecting and providing for to be women. So what does that look like? That looks like one class having resources taken from them and having no voice in it. It's like, that's, if you want to turn our society into that, that's fine. But I think you'll find that that does not have much of a future. And the future that it does have is not particularly good for women
Yep.
or men, really. It's not good for anybody. Okay,
All right.
a little bit
The
of an aside.
the late Sonora Smart Dodd launched the celebration of dads in 1910 in her hometown of Spokane, Washington. As a result, she is the one responsible for those annual gifts that run the gamut from embarrassingly silly looking neckties to kids' finger paintings crafted with so much love by those tiny hands that they can bring a tear to the eye of even the most stoic father. It's a tradition Dodd decided to start as she sat in a Spokane church on Mother's Day 1909 listening to a sermon about what else? Mother's Day. And it bugged her. Dodd's great granddaughter, Betsy Roddy, told the Associated Press in 2017 she thought, well, why isn't there a Father's Day? Dodd and her 5 younger brothers, after all, had been raised by their father after their mother died in childbirth in 1898. William Jackson Smart became a farmer after fighting in the Civil War. He not only held down both parental roles, but did it with leadership and love, his daughter always said, and she believed he ought to get some credit. So she worked tirelessly with the local clergy and got the YWCA on board. That's like the Young Women's. It's like the YMCA, but for women, I think.
Young Women's Christian Association.
Yeah, the Young Women's Christian Association. Thank you. And they had their first Father's Day in Spokane in 1910, said Roddy, displaying a copy of the River Press of Fort Benton, Montana, which reported on the event.
Isn't it
Although
Spokane?
Spokane, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Well, you know what? I think that's right, but then again, it's me.
No, I think you're right. I now that you say it like that, I know I've heard this
And also
this
that
place.
name, the previous one,
Spokane.
like, I
What?
kept thinking Phenomena.
Phenomena. Oh yeah, right. The other place, the where the mine explosion happened. Yeah,
Yeah,
is it?
I'm sorry. That really brings the tone down. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This was a long time ago. It's not too soon. Okay. So anyway, so she worked tirelessly with the local clergy and got the YWCA on board, and they had their first Father's Day in Spokane in 1910, said Roddy, displaying a copy of the River Press of Fort Benton, Montana, which reported on the event. River Press is a newspaper. Although that story predicted the celebration would go nationwide by the next year, Father's Day was slow to catch on. So much so that Dodd spent the next 62 years lobbying everyone from presidents to retailers for support. Finally, in
Oh,
19,
damn, I feel you,
it's
sister.
a lot of work. I got a feeling that Women's History Month was a lot easier to
Uh,
do. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
saying.
yeah. In this patriarchy that puts men's benefit above women, it took a woman 62 years to
Yep.
convince people, hey, we celebrate mothers. Why don't we celebrate fathers in this patriarchy that puts men's interests above women?
Yeah.
Huh.
Isn't that weird?
Isn't that, we're collecting a lot of oddities in our little.
It must be because she's a woman and no one was listening to her. That
Right,
must
that's exactly
that's
it.
got to be
Even though
it.
every time a woman says we need a history month, we need a
Yeah.
woman's left foot month,
Yeah.
our
Do they know
eyebrows aren't
something we don't? They
celebrated.
live by a woman. What does a woman know?
Oh God.
I'm sorry. That's from The Mummy.
No.
That's from The Mummy, guys. Great movie.
Okay.
Yeah, 62 years. Lobbying everyone from presidents to retailers for support. Finally, in 1972, President Richard Nixon declared the third Sunday of June a federal holiday honoring dads. Dodd, who died at age 96 in 1978, had lived to see her dream come true. Now that I think about it, I wonder when Nixon made it a federal holiday, was it like a legit federal holiday? Like people got the day off? And maybe they like rolled that back? Because today, Father's Day is just another day. I mean, like, you're supposed to get your dad a card or call him up or get him a gift.
Is
But
Mother's Day?
Mother's Day is not. I don't think that you get that day off anymore either. It's not like there's a short list of recognized days, right? When I was a kid, I remember Washington's birthday and Lincoln's birthday were among those. But then they got rid of Washington's and Lincoln's birthday and they made one day called President's Day. And then they made that day to where you didn't get it off. It didn't count as a holiday. It was just a special day, like Flag Day, which is also this month, by the way. Not that that's a big one, but I used to like Flag Day as a kid. You go outside with your little American flag and everybody would go in line and wave them. It's called Flag Day. I don't know. It's like the pregame to the 4th of July. So, anyway. So I wonder, maybe there was a time when Father's Day was legitimately a holiday. Because they're calling it a holiday, but I wouldn't say it's a holiday because you don't get the day off. It's not like, I mean, it's on Sundays anyway, so it's not like banks are open. But you know what I mean? Like, the kind of federal holidays mean that all the federal things are closed, I think. Go
I
ahead.
think the rest of this article is probably not really relevant. It's basically just on the great granddaughter of the woman who did it.
Yeah. Well, I think I got like the gist of it.
Yeah,
anyway.
we got the gist. You got the gist.
So it was
that's
a
good enough.
woman that basically made worked hard to make Father's Day recognized.
Yeah, 62 years, guys. 62 years
Yeah.
in this patriarchy that puts even recognizing men over women.
You could say it took longer because the initial incident, so a bunch of dudes had to die, and then one of their daughters was like, "Can we just like do something for fathers?" In West Virginia, and then another woman like kind of, I guess she caught wind of it, or maybe she knew people who were down there because the miners were traveling from all over, to that died there, and then she was like, "Well, maybe we should do something with this." And then there was the 65 years. So it's probably
Not
more
65,
like
62,
62. So it's actually more like maybe 66 or something, because it's a few years after I think it was 1908 when the accident happened, 1909 when the priest in West Virginia did the sermon on it, or the service, and then 1910 when Sonora Smart Dodd launched the celebration of fathers. So
yeah, it might not be too related, or maybe it was. Maybe there was some kind of crossover.
yeah,
Who knows?
who knows?
Maybe they can change it to July 5th so we get it out of Pride Month.
July. Well, I mean
Yeah.
that'd be like the day, but the problem with that is, and that's the day after July 4th. which I don't know. I think that when I was young, I remember when Pride was a week. Can we just go back to that? Because I think that's
You know what's
fine.
really funny about all this?
Yeah.
I think Pride was once a day.
Yeah, no, it
John
was. It was a
moaning.
day, and then it was a week, and then it was a month. But what were you gonna say? Somebody was moaning.
Well, first of all, I think the alphabet soup people need to get rid of the B, because I don't think the B people really want to be part of the alphabet soup people. But regardless,
Well,
um,
I think a lot of them don't really want to be associated with the others because it's
Yeah.
just it doesn't represent much except what you're not straight. But that doesn't mean you have stuff in common with each other.
no,
So it's
it
like
doesn't.
no, it. I mean, I think that is fair to say. Oh, by the way, speaking of Pride, I guess the next thing is Pride season. So in Canada, I made this a story.
Oh, no!
Yeah, it started in Canada because of course it did. They are now going to be doing Pride all the way up till September. So it's basically for the whole summer now. So now Pride season. So keep an eye on your country for when Pride season comes to you. But apparently it's in Canada right now. So there you go.
Wow.
Thanks,
I'm
Trudeau.
actually surprised that like there hasn't been the Mother's Day creep. Like I guess there is. There's like women's now have a month.
Well, yeah, we cram in like women's things all over the place, right? International Women's Day, Women's History Month, Mother's Day, Father's Day, because we're supposed to celebrate women today too, and so on. So yeah, why not?
Ugh, okay.
Yeah.
This is getting really it's
A little crazy.
it's
By the way,
getting annoying.
there's also not in Pride Month, but like scattered in other parts of the year. There's National Coming Out Day, and there's trans. What is it? Remembrance, I think.
Awareness?
Trans remembrance. No, for the trainees that died, at the Battle of the Bighorn or on the beaches of Normandy or at Pearl Harbor. I don't know, but there was trans people that died. So they get a day too.
Why don't we just go back to Stonewall Day?
I mean, look, I'm okay with
we can
like
have the marching
some kind of
women.
recognition, but I think it's kind of like taking over everything else. So
No,
the battle at Hoover Dam, the what's the one the Custer where did he die? Like the Alamo. That's I can just go into Gettysburg, the Hamburger Hill, like whatever, Nam, North Korea, like all these places where there were just trans soldiers throwing their lives away to keep this country free and safe. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, that's men. They don't get a day. Fuck those guys.
Sort of a trans thing now.
What?
I made this argument a long time ago that the masculinity in men constantly have to justify their right to have an identity, and they're constantly being attacked for taking any kind of identity from what they are. Period. Right. So you can't every single group seems to have their own idiosyncratic, mutually exclusive, and absolutely dumb explanation for what a real man is. And let me tell you, it has a penis.
Yeah. Chris Hoff in the chat said Battle of the Bulge. I see what you did there.
But it's like I made the connection. Like that's almost like a trans experience.
Almost, but
having your identity being attacked and under. I mean, no, it's not as much today. Oh, they didn't like that. So I'm like, okay, you can't even make that kind of connection. But anyway, what was I gonna say about all of this? It's getting ridiculous.
It is.
We can't have like a Father's Month. That would, I guess, be. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. There's all of this concern over the fact that the identity of women. Did you see the Hopkins, that big medical site that replaced lesbian with a non-man?
Oh, I heard about that, but I didn't look. I heard about it, but I did not look into it. Like I was just like, all right, I already know where this is going. So
Yeah, but I'm just like looking at this and I'm thinking, you know,
yeah. What
you
is
sort of like when you get rid of the biological category of man, which feminists had to underpin their theories about men oppressing women rather than it just being biological sex roles. I'm sorry, in the males in almost every social mammal species are more likely to be out front and between the social group and danger or providing. So
yeah.
yeah, or singing or having really crazy plumage. Like these are gender roles. And but you get rid of that in order to shore up this idea that women being excluded from men's gender role is actual oppression, not biology, which really means at the end of the day, it means that no men can't have a something to themselves. Like they can't have a behavioral matrix to themselves. It's
Mm-hmm.
not to say that there can't be men who don't necessarily evince all of the behaviors or strongly, or that they're not necessarily men. But that men have their own set of behaviors, their own set of virtues, etc. You can't have that because you're excluding women from it. But once you get rid of men, women become the generic category of human.
Yep.
And you cannot exclude, you can't actually, in that context, you can't create anything unique for women. And the reason why is if you say that women are uniquely compassionate, what are you saying? You're saying that men are callous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you say that men are callous, there is a good thing to being callous. So, for example, women are uniquely nurturing, therefore, they want to make sure everybody gets something according to their needs and not what they've earned. Well, that means that men's callousness inclines them towards creating and maintaining meritocracies in which people get what they earn and not what they need. So you can't say women are nurturing without saying men are more callous. And even if you praise it as a negative, there's a positive that comes out of it. So in order to maintain this idea that men have nothing that women don't, eventually you have to say that women have nothing that men don't. And enter the trans women.
Yep. I mean, I get
Sorry,
where I get where it's coming from and all.
yeah.
I don't think it's a
Yeah.
solution, but but
No,
yeah.
I don't think it's
No, I
look,
know. It's understandable why it happens, and it's the main reason for this is that like while everyone's out here saying what is a woman, they're not asking what is a man. So when you have non-man, it's like what do you mean like a non-non? Because men don't have identity either. So like what you just didn't notice. So
yeah.
what is a
But we
non-man?
still
It's nothing.
Hmm?
But
Yeah, but I'm just saying there's a reciprocity here. If you get rid
yeah,
of anything unique to men, you get rid of anything unique to women.
yeah,
When you get rid of the possibility of any kind of gender binary, you get rid of the possibility of women. Period.
yeah,
Like you just lose it. There's nothing that women can be that men aren't also. Because if you, as soon as you say women are more nurturing, you say men are more callous, then you're setting something up. And you can also see how it might benefit the world to sometimes be a little more callous.
yep.
Actually, did I say actually?
No,
Oh
no,
my God.
I got a super chat that I wanted to use this for, but I'm gonna read some super chats. I'm displaying the screen right now.
Hmm.
So Albert Nada Retro gives us two super chats, one for 550 Canadian and the other one for 550 Canadian. And the first one, he says 62 years to get Father's Day accepted. Women most affected. I'm sure. Well, there, it is right because like what was the, what are they doing now that this woman worked 62 years after another woman worked a couple of years to get like just her local church to sort of recognize fathers after a terrible tragedy took the lives of hundreds, essentially separating thousands of children from their fathers. And then this other woman takes 60 some odd years to get this made into like a federal holiday to acknowledge or recognize men's contributions. What do we got now? Well, now we're supposed to spend Father's Day celebrating single moms and just giving it to moms now. They just want to take it away. and make it theirs.
Yeah.
So yeah, women are most affected because they're always most affected.
And there's another angle to this as well. And I hope this isn't insulting. It might be. I think it's true. There's a tendency that I've seen, and it's really prominent in feminist men, that they want to attribute everything positive that they do, not to their masculinity, but to some individuality. Even if it's the
Mm-hmm.
most trivial thing. Like, I care about women. Yes, like every fucking man who's not a gonk. Like, his brain isn't gonked. You care about
Don't
women.
mean those robots from Star Wars, those droids that are just like two little like vacuum tube legs and a big block body? That's the gonk. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sure the people in the chat know what I'm talking about. It looks like a big metal. It's a droid. It has like two little stubby like vacuum tube legs and a big square body. It was one of those things that obviously like Lucas was smoking pot and he was like, we need a droid here. And so I was like, how about this? I'll take this trash can and I'll put legs on it. Anyway, that's a gonk. It's because they make a sound. They make the gonk sound. So anyway.
Okay. Well, that wasn't quite what I was going for, but it is hilarious nonetheless. But
yeah.
But it's like there is a tendency for men, and it's not as, I don't think it's as prominent as more traditional or conservative men, interestingly enough, but for men to want to regard positive aspects of their being to be solely due to their individual merit rather than something they share with other men because that's gay.
Yes.
Yeah, and but you remember while I was talking about the feminists on
yeah,
Jubilee,
when we were doing the Jubilee thing with the feminist men against the non-feminist women or
and you
anti-feminist
said
women.
something actually really freaking hilarious because I pointed out that this one dude's like, everything is about my individual heroic merit, and I am the only. I don't feel like sharing that with any other man. I'm the blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And he was like, his great achievement, I guess, was not raping women or something.
Yeah, he's like, well, unlike the rest of you plebs, I don't rape women when I feel horny. It's like, well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Also,
it.
I think you said something that's a pretty low bar.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a pretty low bar for being an acceptable human being. I don't commit. I haven't murdered anybody this week. That's good to know.
Use that to his individual merit rather than something that he shares with other men. Is what I'm getting at.
No, I hear you.
I think that it's not a coincidence that it was women who wanted to see this happen. It's also not a coincidence that they were basically stamped down. And it's also, and apparently they didn't get any help except from Richard Nixon.
Yeah, I know. You know what though? I gotta say, okay, I'm not making any like declarative statements here, but I'm actually kind of interested in looking into Richard Nixon a little bit more because I feel like we've been lied to about him. I'm just saying, I'll look into it. I feel like there's more there than what we're shown because of everything that I've seen. So
it was a simpler time.
Yeah.
I mean, today, I don't even think that would be a scandal.
No, I know, but not just that. But I mean, you're right. It wouldn't be. I mean, at least depending on who the person that's being accused is. But I just think like there might be more to the story because okay. So I don't want to get into it, but I watched this video that Razor Fist made on his channel called Rageaholic, and it's about 40 minutes long, and it's about Abraham Lincoln, and it was mind blowing. Like the stuff that I learned about Abraham Lincoln, and I think that Razor Fist does his homework. He did a really great video on Michael Jackson defending his innocence. But again, like the average normie, if you ask them about Michael Jackson, they'll be like, "Oh, wasn't he touching little boys?" So I think that there is like what we're told about people, and then there's the reality, and sometimes it's just not clear cut. That's my only thing. The Abraham Lincoln thing, all I can say is kind of blows my mind.
Don't get on the bad side of the CIA.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Yes, but okay. Anyway,
but at least he wasn't executed by, not the CIA. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't just end up hanging himself with paper,
or being shot in a car by the CIA.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear Robert Kennedy, the guy is like the actual like son, I think, of JFK, He's like running for president, or he's a relative. He's part of the Kennedy family. I don't know exactly.
Nephew. He's the nephew.
He is a nephew, right? He is worried about his life. He said that in interviews.
As well he should be.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So anyway,
I was like listening to him, and I'm like, okay, are you really, like, you really want to say this?
yeah. Well, he's been pretty vocal on the.
He is not, like, there's no freaking filter on him.
No, he's been pretty vocal on the Schmemic stuff. So
Schmemic. Yeah,
the Schmemic.
Is he allowed to be a Democrat? Like,
he's definitely in the Tulsi Gabbard spot. So I like him though. You know, I said to Lindsay, I was like, yeah, I'm basically prepared to vote for Trump if he's like the nominee. But I said if it doesn't work out and it comes down to like, you know, the Democrats have, like, if it's Robert Kennedy, which I don't think it will be because I don't think they'll let it happen, I'd vote for him. I'd be okay with that, you know. So, because, yeah, I can like people's policies despite their party affiliation. It doesn't really matter to me. So I'm not like...
It's come down to...
That's, well,
it's off the CIA.
Yeah, who pisses off the FBI and the CIA the most? Yeah. Who's going to go after them?
Agencies.
Yep.
The alphabet agencies and is that a coincidence? The alphabet agencies.
They are
the alphabet mafia.
Yeah, they are basically the muscle of the G mafia in a lot of ways. But anyway. Okay. So. Yeah,
I did want to actually do a thank you because someone put something through for the captive eye. Thank you.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. I am really hoping this is
not somebody's name.
Shagaga. Shalagaga.
Good news, everyone.
That wisdom dog.
Yeah.
Do you know the wisdom dog? What is your wisdom? No, you don't.
Wisdom dog?
Wisdom dog for you.
Sorry,
yes.
I don't.
I will find it. I'm going to.
All right.
The wisdom dog.
Find it. As an aside, too, I think maybe we can do a little thing on this. I sent you that clip from the show, The Venture Brothers. Do you mind remember the Venture Brothers? I sent you that.
Yeah.
The one, the parody of the Scooby Gang. So I learned today that they're releasing a second season of Velma.
Oh yeah, they're the rumor has it that they made both.
Yeah, they probably did because they may as well just release it. But Venture Brothers did it. They did it much better.
Wait, that might not be the right one. Let me just.
They parodied Scooby-Doo so good. It was hilarious. Dog of Wisdom, 10 hours. Oh my God. We don't have 10 hours.
No, not the 10 hours. Oh, sorry.
That's what you put in.
I'll get you the 1 minute Dog of Wisdom. But this is good.
All right. Hold on.
Just give me a second.
Let me read the other super chat while you're doing that, okay? So Albernator Retro gives us another $5.50, like I said, Canadian, and says, actually, Custard was the Battle of Little Bighorn. James Bowie, William B. Travis, and Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, among others, died at the Alamo. So thank you for that correction. Actually. And then Albernator Retro gives us $2.20 Canadian and says, ad from that watch company nailed what is a man. You're talking about eGuard watches. That guy's pretty freaking cool. Very common sense dude, you know, and doesn't have a problem honoring men. I mean, it's wild. It's a wild thing. Apparently very controversial, but not a problem doing it. So, all right. So let's do, I guess we'll look at this Dog of Wisdom thing. So,
I don't think it's copyrighted, but yeah.
It's only a minute long. So I'll just play it and let's see. If worst case scenario is that, you know, we'll lose the ad revenue that we're not going to make. So, all right. Let's play it.
Hababa, hababadagada, hababadadaba, hatapadagadaga, hatada, hababa, hababadagadaga, ba, bababa, babababa, babababa, ba.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't put it on the screen. Let me I'll go back. We'll watch it from the beginning. Right. We got to watch from the beginning because there's so many plot twists and stuff in this.
Yes, it's there. It's one of the best written serials in the recent era.
ba 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 ha ba 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 ha ba 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 ha ba ba ha 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 ba ba ha 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 da ba da ga ha ba ba ha ba 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 ha wa 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 ha ha da ba da ha
That's the key wisdom.
Hadadets, Badaka, Patada, Patade, Pakada, Patad, Habadagada, Patade, Hadaba.
Okay. That's definitely Allison humor.
It's meant to be understood. It's meant to be felt.
I know.
Incidentally, I recognize the. And now I'm going to bark at nothing.
Yeah. That was
Except
Funky Town,
yeah.
wasn't it? Anyway.
Let me. No.
Won't you take me to
never,
Funky Town?
no, it wasn't. It wasn't Funky Town.
Oh,
It was
wasn't.
Okay. Go back a bit. Go back a bit.
I
know
already-
this song.
I removed it.
You already
I
okay,
closed
alright,
the window, so
I will look at it.
it will remain a mystery to me, and perhaps one day I will learn the true wisdom behind the Dog of Wisdom, because I'm sure that I missed something really deep. Oh, that's the song from the Greatest American Hero. I guess it does sound kind of similar. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a long digression.
Yeah.
Super. Like
it's a
this.
weird,
Thank you.
A weird
weird.
digression, but I guess it was
Hopefully
necessary.
not unappreciated. Yes. Well, I needed to.
Next time,
actually, I needed nothing.
yeah, like next time we do a video, I want to tell you about my adventures in trying to get a second dog. Cause yeah, we're trying to get a second dog, or we might wait a little bit, because JoJo is like, he has real problems with us leaving him alone, and so we need to find people to watch him, and we do have someone who helps us with that sometimes. But if he has another heartbeat in the room, I think he's okay. So like, if I leave him with someone else, he doesn't freak out, and if he's with another dog, he'll just hang out with that dog.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're allergic. I was just thinking
Cats,
sometimes
no.
cats can be.
Cats, no, not just because I'm allergic, but because JoJo, I don't know what he would do. Because sometimes I'll walk him in the neighborhood and he'll see a cat, and he's on a whole other level of excited. I don't know if he's gonna just smell it or if he's gonna kill it. So, or try to anyway.
Recently Skippy chased a cat. I mean, the way that it happened probably wasn't his fault. I heard you groan, so maybe I shouldn't continue.
No, it wasn't that. I was stretching. I'm sorry. I'm not groaning. I was stretching and sitting down for a while.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. It was this really, because when we initially had Skippy, actually wasn't one of our cats. Actually, it wasn't initially. It was a few months later. It was after one of our cats died and the other cats came back from exile. And that one of our cats was able to open a door with a lever handle, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he kept opening the door, and then all the cats would escape. And
oh yeah, sure.
What ended up happening is I would send Skippy out to go and get the cats, and I don't know what he did. He communicated something, but he would he would. Well, he wouldn't round them up into one location, but what would he do? He'd find the cat that had escaped, and he would touch them with his nose, and then it was almost like that was like tag you're out, and the cat would just sit there. Yeah, and they just sit.
Oh, that's weird.
They just sit there. Yeah, and then we would pick them up like you're picking up like fruit from below a tree, and just bring them back in.
Yeah,
and he would tag them. But what happened is recently there was a neighbor's cat. I think it's a neighbor's cat, and he was sitting on a bridge that we go across during our walk. It's just a small little bridge. It's maybe 7 feet long. And Jonathan approached him, and Skippy was just sitting on the other side of the bridge watching all of this. And he didn't do anything. He saw the cat, didn't do anything. Saw Jonathan approach the cat, didn't do anything. Then Jonathan was like, I'm going to touch this cat. And the cat was like, no, you're not. And he sort of scooted away about 5, and then it was on.
Yeah.
It was like, nope, that's not what you do, cat.
So he was probably guarding Jonathan from the cat. Like thought the cat was gonna do something. But because your dog grew up around cats, he's definitely fine. But Jojo's never been around cats. He finds them fascinating creatures, like the possums, raccoons, squirrels, and deer, and rabbits. We got we got bunnies around here. Man, Jojo loses his mind when he sees a bunny. He's like, I'm gonna catch it.
Like deer?
Yeah, we have deer. Yeah, we have deer. Yeah. Usually they come out like kind of like when the sun starts to go down. They start walking around in the streets. You have to be careful if you're driving, obviously. There's one, like, I saw this baby deer. It looked just like the deer from Bambi, like literally with the spots and everything. And he was like clumsily trying to walk, because I guess he must have been just born like yesterday. And I had to stop and wait for him to pass. And the deer they just got balls of steel when they're out. I mean, they don't give a fuck. So, but generally people don't, like, they're very aware and they're careful around the deer. Unfortunately, though, the other rabbits, but especially possums and raccoons, they end up getting killed. And then the vultures, because we have vultures, will come along and move them to the side of the road. It's nature. You could like David Attenborough could like narrate my day, because I see so many little critters around. So
we see a lot of mule deer and moose.
Yeah. There's no moose here, but
a couple of weeks ago we saw some dead mule deer, and they were being feasted upon by farm dogs. That's weird. But
that is weird.
Skippy does not like deer. He's convinced there's some kind of Wendigo.
A Wendigo? Wendigo?
Wendigo. Yeah. Wendigo or something. Something that's evil.
Yeah.
But anyway, we should get back to the topic. So
you were gonna give me the thank you. So I guess just tell me what what was the amount, and I can
$50.
Ooh.
Shalagaga.
Thank you. Come again.
Okay, and if you would like to join Shalagaga, you see why I was like that sounds almost like the doggos, the doggoism.
Yeah.
A little bit, maybe not. If you would like to join our him or her or their, please go to feedthebadger.com/I. I am trying to get the funds together to edit the first book. Very expensive process. I think that's why people send their books off to publishers, so they don't have to front the money for this. But I don't think I would get a publisher. Not even Bain. I don't know if it's too toxic or just who knows. But anyway, I don't mean literally. I mean, like, you know what I mean.
You mean Bane from like Batman? Do you feel in charge? No, not.
Say it again. Say it again.
Do you feel in charge? You think darkness is your ally? Oh, the audience knows. Yeah, you know.
Okay. Sorry,
it'll be very painful. What?
I just kept cutting out during the.
Oh, it did. Okay. Oh, maybe I'm peeking a little bit.
Yeah, and I might be low too, so tell us in the comments if I'm low. But anyway, if you'd like to join the people who are helping me out, I'd very much appreciate it. I would really like to be able to include some writing and justify it by actually having a saleable product. So if you'd like to help me out with that, it's something that it helps me get through the day, shall we say. And it can be quite difficult, this work. I'm pretty sure that Brian can attest to that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, feedthebadger.com/I to help me out with that and potentially bring an interesting story to market. So there you go. feedthebadger.com/the I. Or /I. No the, just I. EYE. There you go.
All right. Brian, it's probably a link on the main page. If you just go to feedthebadger.com, right?
Yeah. For now, there is.
All right. So with all that said, thanks guys for coming on today's.
Happy Father's Day?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. So happy Father's Day to fathers and to people with fathers, which is basically everybody. And I hope that you are, either a father with a relationship to your family, to your children, or you are a child, or you have a relationship with your father, and that you all understand the importance of fathers and where this day comes from. Which is tragic, but at the same time, I think that Father's Day is a great day to sort of keep in mind. So, anyway, with all that said, if you guys like this video, please hit.
Super chow.
Oh, I do.
Super chow.
I do.
Got in under the wire.
LOL gives us $5
No.
and says Wendusi. I don't know what.
Wendigo or Wendigo?
The Wendigo.
Wendusi.
The Wendigo. Yeah. The Wendigo is like, isn't it like a curse that like if you eat human meat in the north, you turn into like a kind of a feral Bigfoot? I remember the Wendigo from the X-Men arcade game, because all it would do is say Wendigo, and then like, if you guys remember the beat 'em up, the X-Men one from like the 80s or 90s. Anyway, okay, so thank you for the super chow, LOL. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. Happy Father's Day to everyone, and we will. Yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, happy Father's Day. And
happy actual fathers and men who provide.
Yeah, like actual father, not single. This is not single Mother's Day. This is Father's Day. So please, please, please share this video, because sharing is caring. Thanks so much for coming on today's show, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.